It is amazing to study the scriptures and to find where God stepped in to change the course of events and bring glory to his name among his people. Good morning. This is Pastor Ernie Lewis of the Blue Point Church in Sisney, Illinois, with your thoughts for Wednesday. We know that God's chosen people, the Jews, and by the way, they're still his chosen people today. Don't miss that fact in this crazy world in which we're living. But they kept a very detailed and rich history of their people. So during the days of Nehemiah, the people were celebrating the rebuilding of the wall. They were dedicating it to the Lord in Jerusalem. And they brought out the books of Moses to recall their history with God. As they had put certain leaders in place of the service of the temple, they found some rules that were written here due to how others had mistreated God's people. It sounds like people in the Middle East today, and certainly protesters in these United States, need to hear about how God deals with those who mistreat his people. In Nehemiah 13:2, he said, "It was found written that no Ammonite or Moabite should ever come into the assembly of God, because they had not met the children of Israel with bread and water, but they had hired Balaam against them to curse them." You can find the recording of the story in Numbers 22 and 23, where the nation of Israel had come up against the Amorites and defeated them. And then they had defeated Og, the king of Bashan, also. And when they settled in the land of the Moabites, their king, a man named Balak, became afraid of these Hebrews. So Balak hired Balaam, a wicked prophet of the area, to bring a curse upon God's people. You can read the story about how Balaam tried to come before King Balak, but he was stopped along the way by the angel of the Lord. As a matter of fact, he was even stopped by his own donkey, who balked at going forward because he could see the angel of the Lord in the middle of the road. But Balaam didn't see him. When Balaam sought to beat or maybe even kill his donkey, the Lord gave this beast a voice where he could reprimand Balaam for seeking to curse God's chosen people. The Bible says in Numbers 22:32, "The angel of the Lord asked Balaam, 'Why have you struck your donkey these 3 times? I have come to oppose you because of your perverse ways before God.'" The record of Moses says Balak hired Balaam against them to curse them. But God turned the curse into a blessing. I love that picture. But God, he stepped in. He made a big difference. Again, God has brought about an abrupt U-turn in man's plans. Balaam was ready to bring a curse on Israel because he was being paid very well by King Balak of the Moabites. Balaam even called for the king of Moab to arrange 7 different altars with 7 different sacrifices to the Lord. But of course, God could not curse his chosen people. So when Balaam gets up to speak the word of the Lord, he says, "How can I curse or denounce those whom God has not cursed?" So Balak asked him for a second speaking. And the second time he gets up to curse Israel, and Balaam says, "God is not a man that should lie, or a son that should change his mind. He has blessed Israel and cannot revoke that." Every time Balak asks him to curse the people, he blesses them. There's a third oracle where Balaam confirmed God's blessing. There's even a fourth oracle where Balaam gets up to speak, and he speaks God's judgment on many of the surrounding nations too. You see, this world can follow its own course, opposed to God and his plans for them, but ultimately, God will step in, and he will bring to pass his will on earth as he does in heaven. You see, God turned the curse of Balaam into a blessing for his people. And by the way, he can do the same for us today. For those things in our lives that need to be turned around, God can do that.